Nick, thank you for joining us. Obviously, you're Women's Academy Technical Coach and Manager. Just first of all, explain your role. What sort of you deal with on a day-to-day basis?
Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for having me. It's a new role for me and a new role for our PGA, where I'm involved with the development and progression, I suppose, of the programme for both players and staff across what is currently our under-16s and under-21s, and then the opportunity to liaise with the first team in terms of player opportunities and progressions throughout those age groups, as I said, both for those participating as players in the programme and the staff in terms of our delivery model, methodology, playing style, etc.
Yeah, and a busy 24-25 campaign has come to an end for our academy.
Yep.
Sort of, how would you reflect on it?
It's been a really positive period. Lots of change. Obviously, for us on the inside, this is really year one of a program and an exciting future for our PGA. So there's been a lot of hard work. Almost starting from the beginning, on and off the pitch. Lots of new staff members or staff members in new positions, and obviously a lot of newness for the players. So some of our players may have been around the PGA a couple of years, but I certainly know that they're part of a tactical program that's been very new for them this season. So yeah, ultimately lots of work, lots of change, but a really positive period, which has resulted in success in terms of trophies, which I think is really important to have some fruits of your labour, I suppose, but also progressions for players in terms of opportunities. So there's been a lot of movement with the under-16s getting opportunities around the under-21s, our under-21s cohort in and around the first team. So I think if you look at it from that side of things, which is probably the most it's definitely the most important thing, but probably what we look at first and foremost is in terms of opportunity and progression. I think that's probably a really good marker in terms of the success we've seen in such a short period of time.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the under-21s first, and sort of their progression. As you mentioned there, it's all about development through the season. Have you seen that within this group?
Yeah, I think that the biggest development improvement has probably been their style or their approach to a game day. I think in their own right, we've got a really good group of players. Again, as I said, some that have been here a while. We had a few new recruits locally, but also recruited from a distance. And I think we've seen real growth on and off the pitch. Certainly, tactically, the girls have really pushed forward with our style, our identity, and that's been really pleasing. Obviously, it's a development program, so it's full of highs and lows, and we get good results. We have results that probably on paper don't look positive, but the performance has been one that we've been pleased with. So yeah, I think the improvement across all areas of the game really, and individually for the 21s group has been a really positive one. And yeah, we're pleased with the progression, development, and excited for next year.
Yeah, because you talk obviously about the development. They've had a very good cup run in the Capital Cup, a senior competition, playing against tier 3, tier 4 sides, like experienced players. For this group of 21s who are majority 18, 17 and 16, was that a good benefit for them to sort of push themselves against these older players? Yeah,
without a shadow of a doubt. I think being asked to do what we would like of them technically and tactically in the PGA world, which is, as I said earlier, fundamentally driven by development, to then have to try and do it in the cauldron that is the senior game, where most recently we played in front of almost 800 fans. The level of competition, the senior level of the players who many have already either played at professional level and are coming towards the end of their career, or some that are pushing on to become senior players and play football as a job. and you're talking the other side of 20. So yeah, for us, and as you mentioned about the ages, our average age this year for the 21s as they turned out has been just over 16 and a half. So I think that puts into perspective what they've been up against. But as you said, a really, really good test for them, and being able to have to try and deliver, as I said, our style, our identity when they're really under the pump or the heat is really on, has been a really good test of their character and a really good test of what it is we're trying to create with them as individuals and a team. So yeah, not only in the league but certainly the cup run has been a really, really positive point for the season.
And we'll quickly touch upon in the 16s as well. They tasted success in the PGA Champions Trophy. With a group like that, a young group that are probably aiming to go into the 21s in a couple of next season or two, how important was it to sort of taste success and win a trophy at that age?
Yeah, it's huge. You can't put a price on that, and sometimes the byproduct of what we're trying to create doesn't always return with success, whether it's finals, whether it's trophies, whatever it may be, and and our measure is always quite different. For the 16s, I think the success is how many of those can be in our under 21s next year, how many are around international opportunities and get recognised for that. But it's football, even at a younger age, that is driven by the want to win silverware and be able to lift a trophy and have a medal around your neck. So yeah, it's a really, really huge achievement, one that they deserve. It's not huge in terms of being out of the realms of possibility, but it's the first time in the PGA's history that we've lifted a trophy, and again, it's just a small reflection, I think, of everyone's hard work. The under 16 staff as well, Sab, the head coach, who's been supported by Micah, and the wider team physically, medically, to have our girls in the best shape in that cup run, and yeah, having something in return that I think everyone that's been around has deserved is a huge achievement, and one we're extremely proud of.
Yeah, you've also talked about player progression at the start, seen a number feature on the bench, and we've also had a senior debut in Zara, who came on against Crystal Palace back in December in the Women's League Cup. Obviously, when you see that moment, a player from the academy make a senior debut, I guess that's a special moment for you.
Yeah, I mean, for everyone involved, and I suppose we feel like we're right at the business end and can be, selfish in terms of taking the accolade, but there's so many people that have played a part in Zara's journey, and as you mentioned, the likes of JP, Sophie, Erin. So I think it's a great feeling in the moment, but it is a reflection of everyone's hard work, and really again it's just the start. There's so much more to go for those girls, and so much more we hope we can achieve, or they can achieve, should I say, in and around our environment. But yeah, a really, really positive feeling, a great sense of achievement for staff and teammates, and I think realistically it's the reflection that the pathway's there, it's possible. The programme that we're developing is only going to pave the way for more of those opportunities, and we're very, very fortunate with the relationship with the first team in terms of staff and the players. This year we've had, that's kind of right at the coalface in terms of what the fans see, but we've had a huge involvement with players training up, and consistently that's a really, really important thing for all the girls involved, because that's what we want to be able to do, is develop our own and create the superstars for our own club that have come through that whole journey.
Yeah, and it's just having that experience of being around the first team, meeting players like Bethany England, that sort of leadership she carries around the room, seeing and feeding off them so they can bring that into their careers.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that sometimes the stuff that can be forgotten or fallen by the wayside. Obviously, it's great for any one of those girls I've mentioned to get those opportunities in the squad, or to gain their minutes, but it's so much harder to stay there, and that's taking on all of those experiences and opportunities. And you mentioned Bethany; she's a fantastic example in terms of a role model for our girls. And the more we can have them around that environment, and just through the means of osmosis, just kind of feed off of everything that they see, behaviours, conduct, the mannerisms, etc. That's huge. So being able to expose the girls to those opportunities and those types of players who, in their own careers have achieved almost everything, there's no better exposure or experience. And I have no doubt that that's enabled the likes of Zara to kick on and afford her debut, and the girls that have been in the squad and are only a stride away now from hopefully getting some minutes in and around that senior team.
Yeah, and you also mentioned about the under-16s stepping up to the 21s level. Again, how important is that to sort of give them that exposure for hopefully when they make that jump up?
Yeah, definitely. It's a really precarious position to be in, but something that we are, really adamant to afford for those girls, and that's the knock-on effect, right? Some of the under-21s getting the opportunity. The importance then is that we look below that can come in and challenge and push boundaries and keep those that are in and around the group on their toes. And yeah, really for us, that's again really what we want to be doing more. And I think this season has been a great reflection of that. The 16s have been able to come up and hold their own, compete, and push those that are established bodies in and around the 21. So yeah, we've had the opportunity to do that a few times, both in training and in games, and yeah, we will look to do that as often as we can, and not just for the sake of it, but when the girls deserve it, and every single one of them has, and we've seen that in the way they've competed in training, but also performance levels. We've had an abundance of 16s that have come up and really put themselves on a little bit of a showcase in terms of impacting a game, scoring goals, being really effective in their jobs, whether they're between the sticks like Sophie, or playing in the midfield like Holly, or a little bit higher like Cairo and Poppy.
And then just finally, what are your sort of targets going into next season for the academy, for the 21s and under 16s, and even further below?
Yeah, I think to continue the growth, we're nowhere near where we want to be, but that's not a negative. That's because the journey ahead is so exciting. We've got the growth of our program here, obviously the opportunity to move into a state-of-the-art home and training facility in the years to come. So I suppose really we're building up to that, and really being able to have a recognition in terms of what it is we're good at on the pitch, the players and the people we're developing off the pitch, and to continue those opportunities throughout those age groups. And if I sat here and didn't say that the ambition next year is to increase the exposure with the first team and gain more first team debuts and minutes in around the senior team, I'd probably be fibbing. That's really what we want to achieve, and I think we really can with the players and the staff that we have and the program that we're developing, whilst also pushing those that are below. We're really excited about that under 16s group that will only push our under 21s that will be under 18s next year, and below that even still our under 14s and our ETC, which fall outside of the official academy window, but we've got some really bright talent that we think if we can take on a journey with what it is we try to create as technical, tactical players, and just good human beings, I think we'll hold ourselves in good stead for next year and beyond. So yeah, hopefully we can sit here and reflect in 12 months time and talk about even more players, the likes of Zara, Cairo, Erin, Sophie, JP, etc.